What the fuck is Wolfgang? This is not a seasoned director. This is like a first timer on TV. The acting is fucking atrocious all across the board, dude. This movie is like a sitcom that goes on for 2 hours.
Okay.
Shots fired.
Awful.
Okay,
awful
I
film.
was delighted by this film. I laughed about a dozen times because it's so wacky, even though it was in German, and you had to kind of figure out what the humor was. And I was the energy and the color and the cinematography and the action was just perfect. I mean, Petersen, I thought this kind of out of fun, because he's done big films. This is a small film, and I think that kind of bled through. I thought it was delightful.
It's the highest. It's the highest grossing. It's the highest. It's the highest grossing German film in the German-speaking territories ever.
That's right. I read that.
Yeah.
I
think this movie is hilarious.
I enjoyed it a lot. When I lived in Germany for a year, I would see movies like this occasionally. There's a whole genre that doesn't really make it over to the States. Maybe now with streaming it does. But they're sort of, I call them lowbrow comedy.
Yeah, this is like slapstick, dude.
Yeah, it's low.
It's absolutely slapstick, and that's fine.
And there were some that were like they're called sauerkraut westerns. There's because Karl May is like a big writer in the 19th century who never went to America, but he writes all these cowboy books, and the books are turned into these really bizarre movies. Anyway, I enjoyed it. It was like old week.
I get the feeling that, so I recognize the guy, this guy, because
Till Schweiger
in Glorious Bastards, but I get the feeling that these guys are probably big deals in Germany.
Yeah,
one of them is
in America. In America, this movie would star Ben Stiller, and like it would be one of those movies.
And all the Wilsons brothers.
And it would suck.
It wouldn't be funny, unlike this movie, which is hilarious.
It could be the exact same script, and it would still fucking suck.
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I would throw out there is that because it's German and it's a comedy, I found personally struggling a lot where you comedy, a lot of it is like the delivery and the expression, and I'm reading a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of this going on with and
but there's also the guy going out the window on the chair.
Yeah.
I laughed a lot.
There is some cruelty, so we know it's German, right?
I thought, I got a kick out of the fact that it's made in Berlin, and you don't see a whole lot of contemporary movies made in Berlin.
Oh.
I thought that these characters, while clearly mugging, but they're mugging in the same way that I see big budget studio comedies, whether or not we think they're funny or not, like that level of big name acting, but they're mugging and like everything's being played very, very broadly. Like it's not unfamiliar.
Yeah, the guy from Inglourious Bastards was the worst performer in this film. Like his faces were like cartoon.
I don't know. I found them all weirdly charming.
Yeah.
When he goes, "You have a fly on your nose," and he goes, and he just gets kicked in the face. It's so fucking funny. Like I think the bigness of it makes it funnier. Like I do think that sort of like presence of like, no, we're all having a good time and we're just gonna fuck around. Like it's fun. Yeah. We're making money. We're making this movie that people are gonna like, and that we're
exactly
enjoying
what everyone said about Ocean's 11 and 12 and 13.
I like
Ocean's 11.
Oh, you didn't like
those movies?
Oh. Because this is very much in line with those. You're absolutely right. That's kind of, it has that same feel.
No, there was a movie Ben Stiller made a couple of years ago. Maybe I think it was like Tower Heist or something like that.
Oh yeah, the infamous Tower Heist movie.
It's basically
the one with the gold Ferrari.
Something like that. Yeah. They're having a good time, and it kind of.
Well, they're the only ones.
Also, the guy who plays the investment banker is a director.
Yeah,
he made at least 2 movies that are also quite popular in Europe. One of them is one of these weird Karl May things, but the other one I actually found online. I'm going to take a look at it and see what it's about.
Although there's a comic setup payoff thing with him where I never take my clothes off. I'm never naked. I never show my body. Then he ends up streaking in front of the Pope. I mean,
Uh-huh.
that's comedy 101 right there. You have to like
Pretty
take
much.
an inhibition and throw it all the way.
And then at the end, at the end, when he's like, "I took my clothes off in front of the 50,000 people and the Pope, so I'm fine being naked now." Like,
exactly. Shock therapy. Also, the
Oh.
name of the bank, Byron Bank, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
The bear
I've
bank.
seen-
Well, and they have a huge bear inside.
Yeah, I know. That's the best.
And
I've
that's
seen,
the
like I said,
sort
I've
of
seen
the
an American
symbol
version of
of
this movie.
Berlin, too.
I've seen an American version of this movie like 100 times. I got a kick out of seeing the German version. I would watch a Spanish version. I would watch a Korean version, like just to see how that
Oh, the Korean version.
how that kind of
Yeah, a Korean
Big
version would be
budgets.
darker and smarter than that.
Probably a lot bloodier too.
And
Yeah,
I didn't
probably.
get
That's
the
no, the
because
Korean
they won.
version would just have vampires.
I think you expected too
I
much. out of
didn't
this,
get the bear
Jared.
joke.
Let me do
But-
a sidecar here, and this is something I that struck me.
I did
really-
specifically say
Oh.
this movie was dumb when
It
I
is dumb.
picked
It's a dumb
I want to
film.
point that out.
No, the thing that struck me, the sidecar on the, you know what, screenwriters
I
know
wish
what
I'd
the,
remembered that before I watched it.
anyway, what the unbelievable coincidence is. Everyone know what that is?
Um,
You're allowed in a feature film screenplay one unbelievable coincidence. Where
Yes,
some,
that he knew the woman whose
no,
house he was
that
breaking
part where he went through the
into.
window and knew the woman that was screwing was actually the villain's wife.
Right.
And
Right.
that was your one unbelievable coincidence. And all good films got him. Like,
I thought the
Um,
naked thing was pretty lazy writing. Like he was freaking out. They had brought him back in from the roof, and they were just trying to like take his tie off, loosen his tie, and he's like, no, I can't be naked. I don't know. It wasn't like they were. I don't know. It was just convenient writing. A lot of times screenplays do that because they're.
Here's how it happened, Jared. Here's how it happened. They're like, we're gonna have a scene where he's streaks in front of the Pope and a coliseum full of people, so that he has an alibi. And
they
then
work
they
backwards.
they write backwards.
Bill,
Yeah.
they write backwards to say, oh, and he's afraid of taking his
Yeah, I
clothes
think
off.
Remember,
they
this
did-
is based on a book, though,
Oh,
so that's
Okay, well, that's what the author of the book
that's
did.
in the novel.
No,
The
I want-
streaking in
want
front of
James,
the Pope.
I think
it
they
was then
needed a
made
bigger-
the first time in '77.
I think they needed
Yeah.
a bigger
It's a
setup
TV
for
movie,
his
yeah.
nude phobia. For his nude phobia, I think they needed a bigger setup.
Uh-huh.
I did like when the bags were still in the car though. That was pretty good because I
Although
was
it
like,
was
cute.
when they were standing there, I'm like, who fucking grabbed the bags?
Who's got the
like,
money?
before they did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Also,
I knew
at
that
one
was going to
point-
happen.
Okay, at the point that they were playing with all the money and they were playing loud music in the rec room, and they discovered that it was all
Like
marked.
Sabotage, which is great because several scenes in this are actually like lifted from the
Yeah.
Sabotage
Oh, the
video.
soundtrack was fun because it was all just 70s American
first of
music
all, the
and
score
stuff
was,
like that.
the score was atrocious, like absolutely Hollywood terrible.
But why? But
I
why
was-
that a German film?
But I was really surprised at Sabotage because the
We
Beastie Boys
colonized their
are notorious for not allowing anyone to use their music.
Oh, it was overseas. They didn't care probably.
Yeah, maybe because it's not America, they were like,
Yeah,
"Fuck it."
yeah. But it's like Woody Allen doing a Suntory whiskey commercial. You know, no one's
But I
gonna see
even
it back
hated-
home. You know.
I can't now. I'm getting confused about music cues between this one and the other one. But I
Okay.
hate
The other one had a lot of 70s music too.
like they're just dropping like the most like in this movie I think in particular they're just dropping the most obvious, you know.
Well, in standard,
songs.
they're kind of like, you know, that's kind of stuff they would actually listen to back then. It's kind of like the English,
Right.
it's
It's the
English
sort of
centered
stuff
metal
you
kind
would
of
have
stuff.
heard.
This is more like, I don't know, kind of Hollywood tribute stuff. And maybe,
no, but
who
also
knows?
that
Anyway.
Germany's 15 or 20 years behind on American music. Anyway,
Yeah. But the point I was making about
Feel that
the marked
here.
bills,
Not really.
they
but-
discovered all the bills were marked with ultraviolet dye or whatever. Why didn't somebody run in the washing machine? I'm
Yeah,
thinking
wonder.
that bothered me
It
for
would
20
void
minutes
the
after seeing
warranty.
this. That's, they know it's marked. Just
You guys
run it a
just
couple
don't
times
watch
until it
enough
comes.
dumb movies.
I know, but it's like a dumb movie decision. You know what I mean?
These
Well, they
things
would-
never,
they
like,
would-
bother
Dumb
me the
movie.
slightest.
But they would
Uh,
literally launder it, right? Like they would find a place
You literally wash it in the washing machine until all the ultraviolet ink comes
and
off.
hang
That's
it
all
up.
you do.
What's that movie where they do that? They hang it. They hang it to dry it on the pin on the.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, but
More than
that
one.
that would work. That
Yeah, there's more
actually
than one.
work.
I think Blow did that,
Uh-huh.
and like I think didn't they
Didn't
do
the
that
Woody
maybe with, like
Allen
Wolf of
movie
Wall
do that?
Street or something? I don't know.
Probably.
It's like they're hanging
The
the
one
bill
where they
up.
have the bakery next door.
Yeah.
Also, being a German film, I expected a much, you know, that it's such a law and order country in some ways. You know what I mean? It's like it.
Yeah, but there's a whole tradition of thumbing your nose at the whole Law and Order thing too.
Yeah. I was
There's
expecting
a lot of
and a
divisions.
tradition of fucking with banks.
Oh, that's true.
Of course.
Yeah,
'Cause
Run Lola
nobody
Run
likes
did that.
banks. It's like the phone company.
Yeah.
Right.
But either way, I expected
The
a worse.
most
I
interesting-
expected everybody to go to jail, and they didn't, which is weird.
I was just going to say the most interesting thing about it is that at the end of the movie, they just got away with
They
it.
got away with it.
They got more. Well, you know what?
I
They
kept
had-
waiting for the hammer to
No,
come down.
They
and
they got away with it, but they're
Really for
awarded
these
with a
guys.
commensurately small amount of the reward, maybe 100,000 marks each. But that's
Yeah,
that's what they
100,000 marks
needed.
each.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's about it. So it was convenient, and that's that way.
So I thought that was a pretty fucking stupid movie, and I'm pretty much with Jared on this. That it's like that was a movie I would never have watched if it were an American movie. And as soon as the credits started rolling, I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah, the way the credits came in was just awful.
It was
So
just like here's a
terrible.
Mission Impossible or Ocean's fucking 17 or whatever it is, and that's what it turned out to be. Right down to the, it was like they bought a template online
Yeah.
for heist movie, and then it started with those, like those dumb vignettes where they would introduce each character and then freeze frame and then put their name across.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Which
oh,
was cool, like the first time like Guy Ritchie did it.
yeah, well, yeah. So I was pretty much annoyed with it. It got better to me after they got the money, and then it was like, how are they going to keep the money? How are they going to avoid being arrested? And that was about the last third of the movie, and to me, it got more interesting then because I wasn't totally ahead of it.
Also, the detective was interesting because she was like a loose cannon in the end of the film. You don't know what she was going to do. I thought they were going to try to bribe her or something like that. You know what I mean?
I really
the
enjoyed
humor
the,
is really dumb, you guys. It's like it
It's
would
just
not
very
pass
broad.
muster. It would be like a first draft that would not pass muster, even for a shitty Hollywood film.
that's
Yeah.
not true. That's not
dumb.
true at all.
So many
No.
movies like this.
No, this is rolled to be sold, man. Come on, this is a film you
What
give it to a
Kenny would
studio.
call an ironing movie.
Yeah,
It's
Like,
an
literally-
entertaining movie.
Ironing movies.
Literally, they made two grown-ups. They made two
Right.
grown-ups.
Yeah,
Like-
this is, I would actually say I thought this movie was better than most of those horrible.
Yes.
What's his name? Nuts. It's
Yeah, this
Adam
is better. This is
Sandler.
better than your like
Adam
average Adam
Sandler
Sandler.
posse.
Yes, I would
Yeah.
agree that this is better than your average Adam Sandler movie, but like the average Adam Sandler movie is like that's like really at the lowest hanging fruit that you can possibly.
No, yeah. Well, it's down there. I just like I
No,
said.
this is-
If I hadn't been on this show and had to watch it, I would have turned it off. But
yeah.
Me too. I
So
would have turned it
don't
off
know-
and
I
like
don't know. Maybe I'm comparing it to things. I haven't
Probably-
actually seen.
I don't know. You know what? There's something I would never seek out to see myself. So I'm actually glad
I didn't
saw
even know it
it.
existed.
Yeah, same here. I just
Did anyone
completely
see?
surprised me.
I don't know where
So-
Jim went, but did anyone see that eerie fucking? I screenshot or I took a picture of the screen of the ad guy Max in his disguise when they were robbing that bank.
I know it's weird. A coincidence.
He
isn't it?
looks exactly like Charlie Hunnam
Uh-huh.
in The Gentleman, like the way
Yes.
they the his facial hair, his glasses, the wardrobe. I mean, it's like spitting, dude. It
Oh, no.
was eerie.
This trust fund ad, man, he was actually my favorite character because
Best.
he was just all over the place. He was like a trust fund kid. He was having problems with his parents. He didn't really want to be part of it. He didn't know what he wanted.
Well, he was the only actor that was like okay, in the beginning, for instance, the guy that
Uh-huh.
was playing the actor, the famous actor,
Right.
when he got mad at the that short film student director or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and he's like choking him, that's when I would have turned it off. Because
That's where I
that
would have turned it
performance-
off.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that performance, I'm all wait, he's not acting in his like short film anymore, the film within the film. This is the film we're watching, and it was piss poor. I mean, it was like the worst acting I've ever seen. Like he was all, oh yeah, like it was like
Yeah,
it
but
was like he was-
he's on the German version of Starsky and Hutch. Like
I know, but it was just no, but
Yeah.
not no, I'm not saying his acting in the movie that were in the movie. I'm saying
No, I'm saying the
Actual
that
acting.
that
the
guy is
actual
pro-
acting.
the
So he's a
guys in
TV
Starsky and
he's a
Hutch
TV
were
actor.
probably bad, like to watch in real life too.
Now, if I was to recast
I
that, I'd
don't
say
think
that
that's
we
a good argument. This guy was just a terrible direction, terrible acting, terrible like. I don't know.
I disagree about the acting. I think most of the acting's perfectly fine for what the movie is. Like
Yeah. I think even for this kind of movie, this acting was overall weak. They didn't.
But how much of that is how much of that is getting lost in translation though?
I think it's the gags in the script. I think it's the
No,
dialogue.
I think there's a lot of subtleties
It's
we're missing
super
as usual because
obvious.
it's a foreign language film.
Well, I know that
I'm
we're
with
doing
Scott.
Yeah.
I know that we're doing this thing too, but I look at faces. I watch Gates. I watch the, I mean, for instance, I just brought up, when he choked that student filmmaker, but it's just like, you look at his face and he's not selling it.
I'm
The
pretending
actor,
to choke someone.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it's like, you can just hear
Yeah, it's
Wolfgang
hard
like,
to. I think it's hard to
like,
say, but it's.
And the thing about no matter what kind of comedy, whether it's broad or highbrow or whatever, you never go for the joke, and B, you take it 100% seriously. Like, it would have been funny if he really started choking that fucking guy, like, and like, trying to kill him. Like, that would have been hilarious. But instead, you're like, that's when I would have turned it off. The very first guy they introduced, he starts choking the guy out. I was like, oh, now I know what kind of film I'm in for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but then he goes, and I hired this guy for 100 marks or 100 euro a day, and he goes, I thought it was 200 euro, and he goes, yeah, but that's before I knew you were a diva.
Yeah. Well, that's right. That's right before he he poorly acts like joking him. But I do agree with Scott that the young guy was probably maybe the best actor in the film.
Yeah. It was having a lot. It was had fun with it, but he had a lot of complexity. He actually was coming out of a kind of a weird, spoiled, look at me kind of central thing to kind of working with other people to get towards a goal. At the end, I thought he finally found to a selfless place. We started like dating that detective.
Yeah, and they're still dating at the end.
I know,
like,
it's kind of cool.
Attractive.
And
That's
then
what I mean about this, the end of the movie being better than the beginning of the movie.
funny thing is, she's far less attractive on the date than she is the rest of the time that she's in the movie. Whatever the fuck she did with her hair in the when she went on the date, it was like, what you look like you have like an almost like a reverse A cut. I don't.
She's she's a cop and then trying to be softer, and she doesn't know how to do that.
And I like that because she's struggling with it.
And behind Chris, like, that's much more attractive. Like,
she's hot either way, but yeah, she's.
I want the.
She doesn't know what she doesn't know what like regular
urban
women
girl
are supposed to look like.
Yeah, they're all
what happened to Jim, man?
Yeah,
you know what's weird? His channel, he's black, but his channel's not down. It's still taking up a corner here.
He just put the lens cap on. He's done with us.
Uh-huh.
Whatever.
Oh, there he is. Oh, you were right. His lens cap was on.
The thing behind Pad, I laughed probably harder at that than anything else in this whole movie.
Also, Jim, you should come back with a crazy wig. That would have been nice.
I don't know.
I am wearing a crazy wig.
the part where he kicks him in the street and then Till Schweiger just beats the shit out of him and just throws him up against the wall, and he's like, I'm gonna break your arm. I'm gonna break your arm. He's like, I'm with you for life. I'm with you longer than life. Like, I thought that was really funny. Also, the scene where they make the banker badly flirt with the woman when they're stealing the car from the long-term.
That was
funny.
That was hysterical, actually.
Because the things that were coming out of his mouth were just so incredibly bad.
Get out of here.
Will you come back to my place for coffee and sex? I don't have coffee. Do you want sex? We can have sex. Like, it was so fucking funny.
Please leave and never come back.
All right, so Tad, why did you pick this movie? Had you seen it before?
I had, yes.
Explain yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. 1, I thought this movie was hilarious. 2, I love Wolfgang Petersen, and I just think, hey, cool. Let's watch a Wolfgang Petersen movie that I knew none of you had watched.
That's less than 4 hours long.
If you could have showed this to me without his name on it, and never in a million years
would you?
That's
have
the thing.
Would I have guessed he was the director of this?
And then 3. Both of these movies, this one and the next one, are about competent criminals. And like, I think one of the problems we have in America with a lot of movies is that all the criminals are always incompetent, especially in comedies.
That's because they're all American.
Yeah.
Case in point, someone robbed a bank in Sonoma the other day and escaped in a bus. And you
mean like the county bus?
They pulled the bus, Sonoma County city bus, and pulled the bus over a couple of blocks down the street and arrested her. And everybody's like, yeah, that's the woman that got on the bus after she robbed the bank. That's not the brightest bulb in the room.
Well, generally you don't go into criminality unless you've run out of options to make legitimate money. So
No, that's not true.
Not if you're a woman, you just like do inner like.
That's
you do
not what
webcam
Standard
girl
did.
shit.
Yeah,
Plenty of
let's
people-
hold that thought because we'll get to Standard in a minute.
Plenty of people get into criminality because of many other reasons, and they're the ones who don't get caught. You know.
Well, I'll give you that. You know, I'm talking about the ones I observe. The things you know and the things you don't know.
There was no, but
The
there was
ones
no,
on the police blotter.
The unknown known.
Thank
No,
you.
no,
This,
no.
this brings up a good point though, because both this film and the next film will get there. But I felt in both films there was not enough in the script or in the storytelling and the filmmaking. There was not enough sort of explanation or information or showing us how they go from being, you know, basically non-bank robbers to immediately bank robbers. Like, especially in this film where they were all just, they're fucking strangers. These guys.
no, that was
Suddenly they're going to be all like, no, we're just going to fucking do this. We're all going to fucking do this.
Yeah,
we
they
got
just
screwed.
happened to walk out of the bank at the same
You know what?
time.
I was
that was so fucking stupid. It's
no,
like,
I was grateful we didn't have a
What?
long let's get the game together scene. You know, those long montages.
no, I
these
wanted,
things.
no, I don't want a montage.
This
But I want
dispensed
good
with it.
writing.
It was like we met in a bar. We're gonna do this thing. I like that. It was just done.
No, and we'll get there. But
It's
Tanner,
because
too, like-
people in Germany are only one beer away from robbing a bank.
True enough. True enough. Now this goes back to another round, right? They're all like everybody here is a little bit drunk all the time, right?
Yeah.
Just checking.
Just checking.
Also, Manos.
So
I think bank robbing's cool. I think more people should rob banks. And
So do
I
I.
think
I worked at 2 banks for a long time, and you know, I was in my brain just for fun. I was like, how would we do this?
How would I do it?
right,
inside
exactly.
stuff.
Banks are bad, and more people should rob them. It's
Did you work as a
it's a
teller?
victimless crime.
I was a
And
teller.
Scott's
yeah.
going to cut this out because he's a coward, but it's absolutely a victimless crime, and more people should rob banks.
Dude, you know, in terms of the
technically-
redistribution of wealth from banks to people, that's one of the ways it happens. So I'm not going to cut this out.
Yeah, I knew if I called you a coward, you wouldn't cut it out.
Well, no, I thought
said
earlier
that for me.
I semi agreed with you because it's like there's
But you
something.
do-
Although the whole Patty Hearst robbing banks for whatever reason, that's a bit much, don't you?
But you
think?
do need an insider, because you know when, like, I knew when the real money would be in there,
Well,
because you could hit a bank on any given day and you get not very much. Like, even if you
Well,
go in the fall.
that's the heat thing too, right?
Yeah, the
It's
moving
like,
day.
Yeah, when they
Yeah.
come in,
So
they get the Tom Noonan gives them the like, hey, it's gonna be on
Right, this
Friday
day,
because
right.
everyone comes in to cash their paychecks.
it's
this
also
day.
moving
Blue
day,
Fonts.
moving day, and they called it moving day in English, which is great.
Yeah.
So Jared, when you worked at the banks, did you ever get robbed when you were there?
once.
Oh, really?
Did you even
Yeah,
know
I
it
was.
going on?
But it was a cool old school bank, and it still had a drive up
Uh-huh.
with 3 lanes and the little tube. It was really
Oh, those
cool.
are great. I love those.
Yeah. So when we got robbed, I was in the drive-through, so I didn't even know we had gotten robbed.
Oh, okay.
Like someone, one of the tellers came in. I'm just working, and one of the tellers came in and was like, "Shut everything down, lock it up. We just got robbed." And I was like, "Oh shit!"
What?
Wow.
And the FBI came,
Oh, yeah, they do.
They take bank robberies very seriously.
and they were dressed in plain clothes. Like, it was just like dudes like that were just out fishing,
Yeah.
and they just came over.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
Washington is the bank robbery capital of the United States because we have so many banks that are right by like big wooded areas.
Uh-huh.
So people just like park their car on the other side of the wooded area and then they just walk up, rob the bank, and disappear into the woods.
And you're close to Canada, too.
And yeah, well, I mean, that doesn't help now, but
Yeah,
Other
no, at the
times.
time it did. All right. So, thumbs? Yes, up, down, sideways?
I mean, here's the thing.
Yeah,
This
I would
movie
not watch
started-
that again.
This movie started, and within 2 minutes, I'm like, oh, it's one of these. And I downshifted into the mindset you need to get into when you watch one of these, and I had a really good time with it. So
Well, I
on
forgot.
that
Tad,
level, thumbs up.
I forgot if Tad said it was dumb fun.
That
but
would have helped.
I was not in
wouldn't
the right mind, and I was like, I would have turned it off.
But again, like within 2 minutes, like, oh, it's one of these.
it? Yep.
Yeah.
It's not up here. This is not fucking Sundance, man.
No.
You know,
This
and
is,
also
this is
it is-
Germany's interpretation of a Ben Stiller movie.
I
Yeah,
told
it-
you it's like a template.
It's
But
not
I don't
Reservoir
even-
Dogs. We get
but
to
I
see
like-
the bloody aftermath of a botched robbery, which
Almost
is
all
I
kind of-
kinda
movies
just
are
don't
made
want to
from a
watch.
template,
I don't want to
John.
watch this kind of movie in any country. I don't want to watch.
I don't know. I have occasionally they're fun.
Mhm.
Okay. There
This
were a
was
few moments.
fine.
There were a few moments.
I picked this one because it's fun. Like I
Yeah,
literally,
it was fun.
we've had so many fucking movies recently where people have gotten horribly physically abused, raped, murdered, burned,
Flayed,
destroyed.
boiled,
Yeah,
buried.
exactly.
Yep.
And I just
that
wanted to watch
personally.
something
I will
fun,
say-
and this
I will
movie's
say this.
fun.
Tad, thanks for picking movies this week. Like that's
Okay.
If ever there was a movie that should be called movie, this is the movie that should be called.
Oh, this is the movie with the
No,
capital
this is no Ted. I mean, this is the kind of movie where when they get all drunk and one guy finds out his mustache is all lit and says, "Oh, you look like Hitler," and it's a big joke in a German movie. That's unusual for us.
You know how long you have to know those people before they'll talk about Hitler? And then
I know that's how drunk you got to be, right?